You better think.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Sophie.
So, that was a nice way to start, actually. So, yes, as Matt started, today the topic, if we used one word to summarize it, is think. So, the tip number 4 is thinking deeply about your topic.
And what we mean by thinking deeply about your topic is we don't want you just regurgitating something from online. We want to know what you think and hopefully promote you or provoke you into coming up with your own ideas and then testing your ideas with what you can find out about and see if what you think is actually true, and if you can, maybe you have some new idea that you can promote.
So, one way to think deeply about your topic is to think. Yes, I know it sounds silly, but I've noticed in the past that you don't usually give yourself the time or the credit to think. What I mean by you don't give yourself the time or the credit is just looking at this question. When you want to know something, what do you usually do? I bet a lot of you are going to give one answer. And indeed, if your first answer was the internet, I think you don't give yourself the time or the credit to think. So yes, the internet is a wonderful place where you can find a lot of information, but I truly believe that your brain is an even better place. So that's why I'd like you to pay attention to this video and try to understand why for us, and not just us, but researchers as well, using the internet first is not the best way to think. So how do we think? I know that's kind of the big question. How do we do this? Well, the way we decided to do it is actually to explain to you how we prepared for this topic, the thinking deeply. Because I think it shows the process that usually Matt and I go through when we want to talk about something new, when we want to talk about something challenging. How we think, first we use our experience. As researchers, as you may know, Mathew and I do academic work, but especially we prepare for classes. So we do a lot of research for classes. Also, as teachers, because we do learn a lot from you, so what we hear from you becomes part of our knowledge, and we use it again later on in classes or our own presentations. So we believe that using what you already know is the first step to thinking. And again, this goes back to my point that I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I think you underestimate. You don't realize how much you already know. And I hope this is something you will realize through this class. The second step for Mathew and I is to discuss. We talk to one another about what we think and also how we feel about our experience. It's not just a thinking process. We like sharing our feelings regarding this. Because one characteristic that we have in common is that we are pretty good at just listening, meaning that Matt can be quiet. Can you believe this? The results of the discussion, it's usually that we can clarify, so we can have a better understanding of our opinion or of our thinking. And sometimes, especially as far as I'm concerned, Matt is very helpful to make me see the logic of my presentation. So usually when I'm done talking with him, I have an outline of what I would like to share, either with you or in my own presentation. So clarifying what you're thinking and starting to organize it with an outline. After using our experience and discussing it, yes, we do use the internet. We are not anti-internet. We just think there are other things to do before you get to the internet. As far as I'm concerned, I use Google a lot, and I believe Mathew is the same.
It's true.
And then the struggle is the what keywords are you going to use? And personally, for this topic, this presentation, I used the keyword in quotation marks, think before in doing internet search. And it turned out that I got results I was not expecting. The results I got, and surprisingly a lot of them, were about how employers check SNS of candidates that they want to hire. So,
oh my god!
Yes, it's a good piece of information, but it's not helping me. So yes, there seems to be a trend that employers check your SNS, so you might want to be careful with what you write on SNS.
Delete those photos as well.
So as I said, it is not what I was expecting or looking for. Again, good piece of information, but
I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still
yes, as the song says, it's the song by U2.
Yes.
And it's called?
I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Exactly, yes. I still hadn't found what I was looking for. So I basically gave up on a search engine, right, on Google. And I went to a specific website. And the website I chose to look at is TED Talk. First, I immensely respect what is on the website, and I trust the speakers. The speakers are usually either researchers or teachers or people with a lot of experience in the field, and they are credible. I can believe them easily. And on top of it, the TED Talk website gives you less possible answers, right? It's more limited, so you can spend less time going through all the search results. And I did find something, and it's a TED Talk about experts and how we stop thinking for ourselves when we listen to one. So let's say, for instance, I tell you that you shouldn't eat white rice because it's not good for your health. You think I'm an expert, you stop thinking about it. For instance, you've been eating white rice your whole life and you're doing just fine. But because I'm the expert and I told you this, you stop thinking. So the TED Talk is by Norina Hertz, and it's called How to Use Experts and When Not to. So obviously the TED Talk presenter, she makes other points, but this was the most important piece of information for me, so that's all I'm going to share with you. In the TED Talk, Noreen Hertz mentions an experiment, right? So as I said, usually TED Talk presenters have very good source if they're not the one who actually did the experiment. So she mentions an experiment, so I looked for the article online and I found it. Yeah, we love free resources. And I learned that the experiment was about financial investments. So how you invest your money, what you do with your money so that it makes money, more money. It was very interesting because basically what it says is don't trust your financial expert, but it's not what I was looking for.
But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Next, I checked another website that both Matthew and I like. It's called The Daily Good. And on this website, you have wonderful articles and videos about people, usually, and how wonderful they are. So on top of getting good information, it's very positive, not the depressing news that we usually get. Again, I got something very positive from the Daily Good website, and I found an article from edge.org. And edge.org is an organization of deep visionary thinkers on science and culture. So visionary means people who can see into the future. They have enough knowledge for now that they can kind of predict how things are going to go in the future.
Wow, so they can like tell us how many kids we're gonna have or how old we'll be when we'll die?
Yeah, kind of. No, Matt, it's just, predictions from what they know. They're making educated guesses, right?
Okay.
It's not like a fortune teller.
Ah, got it.
Thank you. Here is the header of the website. So each year, edge.org asks a question. And in 2010, the question was, how is the internet changing the way you think? They got 68 answers to the question. And again, remember, it's from people who have a lot of knowledge about the internet and the way we think. So yes, for me, it was a eureka moment. It's like, yes, I found it, finally. So I got that picture also for you. I found it. So the missing link, as you can see in the picture, she's got the missing link. That was it. I was finally getting the information I needed. So what I did, as you can imagine, 68 answers from people who have a lot to say. It was a lot to read. So first what I did, I only scanned titles because each answer had a title. And then I read the answers that seemed the most interesting, the most connected to what I was looking for. And I found two great answers. They were detailed and well organized and with great support as well. So what I did, I copied and pasted the two answers and I put them in a Word document. But somehow I felt like maybe I was still missing something about this topic, so I went back and checked YouTube and again Google. But truth be told, I got overwhelmed by irrelevant information. So the experience I had at first repeated itself. I just could not find the information. I was getting all this information that made me confused, basically.
What's irrelevant mean?
Irrelevant, not connected to what I was looking for.
Okay.
Still haven't found what I'm looking for. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
What I realized then is that I just needed to do something completely different. So basically time out. Stop searching, stop thinking. And I made yogurt and I wrote the 3 spellings of yogurt because there are 3 spellings of yogurt. So whichever you want to use, I tend to use the middle one. How about you, Matt?
Take the far right, fewer letters, easier to spell.
All right.
And yog-hurt with an H, for me it sounds like pain.
True, very
It's like yoga plus hurt.
So yes, I made yogurt and I read because as many of you know, I love reading. And I actually had a very good night's sleep, so I slept 8 hours. Then the next morning, I did what you can see on the slide, something that I call integration. I only reread the 2 answers, the answers I had put in a Word document that I really liked and the answers that were answering my question. I just focused on that. I took notes because I can't think when I don't have my own notes. And just so that you know, as I'm talking, Mathew is taking notes about what I'm saying. And I looked at them, and the next stage for me was to think about how they fit into my own thinking, my own position, right? Yes, these are experts, but I have experience too, so I wanted to see, is that what I want to share with you? Have I experienced it? Can I really talk about it as if I've lived it? So then I could reorganize my thinking or position, however you want to call it, to be able to share the following ideas with you. So first, why the internet isn't helping you think, and this is something Mathew will explain to you in a minute. And then obviously how you could think more efficiently, right? If you're not using the internet right away, what can you do? So to summarize what I've been talking about, I like to say that using your experience before jumping on the internet is a great idea. Then discussing this experience with someone who is good at listening. Then do a web search, and here the challenge might be to find the right websites as I went through. Then take some time out to process information, right? To think about what you've been finding and thinking. And last but not least, integrate from what you found and what you already think. Come with something that is your own personal, your own original idea.
And maybe have some critical analysis of the information you've gathered. So, now I'm going to talk about why the internet isn't helping you think. Now, here I'm actually citing a source for you because we always think it's best to check who says and writes what. And so this is our source for supporting our claim that it's better not to rely on the internet too much. So we have the Edge World Question Center articles by the following experts. Leo Chalupa, who's an ophthalmologist and neurobiologist. Ophthalmologist is someone specializing in vision, and neurobiologist is someone specializing in the brain, so he's wicked smart. Then we have Anthony Aguirre, also associate professor of physics. So these are guys that I think know what they're talking about, and at least they have some authority on this information. So this is the credibility. You can go to the website to find out for yourself. So yes, you can get a lot of information, but it isn't easy to check how true a piece of information is. How many of you said, is that true about something you found on the internet? Let me just give an example. Recently, they said they found a mummy from thousands of years ago wearing Adidas boots.
Really?
Yes, and I'll show you about that later. So in addition, you can experience information overload. That's when basically too much information clogs your brain. You collect too much data or get too many facts, and you don't really have time to process it. So you have so many pieces of information that you don't know what to do with them, or how to make them work together, or really understand what they mean. So information overload. Shinpei Takahashi, a Japanese guy, experienced this situation with data while trying to create new games. He had to get away from data or information and find a way to let his mind think. And he has a great TED Talk. It says, play this game to come up with original ideas. So you can get information quickly from the internet, but you usually have no time to think about it. And as Aguirre wrote, the speed of information input from the internet is simply too fast, leaving little mental space or time to process that information, or to fit it into your existing schema, what you already know, and to think about the implications of that information. You have no time to process the information that you've gathered. So something I think we've already experienced with TV, is called channel surfing, where you change the channels very quickly. Nowadays, we do something called information surfing, where we jump from one piece of information to another, and another, and another, without taking the time to really reflect on it too much. Have you ever started searching for something on the internet and then got sidetracked? Or actually forgot what you originally were looking for?
I definitely have.
I have too. Even with a great website like TED, it offers related talks, links to other websites or playlists to watch, but not always is it necessarily linked to what I was thinking about, and I can't see the connection sometimes. Here's an example, right? She's one of the TED experts, and she talks about not believing the experts down below. A lot of them are new to what her talk was about or what I was looking for. Just data overload. So we do need time to think. What else can you do to think about a topic? What Aguirre suggests is to fit it into an existing schema, it's important to take time to think about what you've just learned and how it fits into what you already know. You got to think through the implications. What does the information you just found out really mean? Here's an example. PISA, or the Program for International Student Assessment, they gave a report. They measured to what extent 15-year-old students have acquired key knowledge and skills that are essential for full participation in modern societies. And they test students from different countries. So according to PISA 2012, more than 15% of Japanese students are top performers, level 5 or 6 in reading. It says they can handle texts that are unfamiliar in either form or content and can conduct fine-grained analysis of texts. That means they're looking really closely at them. So the average for top performers in OECD, that's the high economic countries, is 8%. So 15% sounds great, doesn't it? Japan, 15%, higher than average for OECD countries, which is 8%. But what about low performers? Why is the OECD average so low in the first place? These are countries where students have enough money to go to school. Don't you think that at 15 years old, everybody in a developed country should be able to read all kinds of text and be able to analyze those texts? For me, the idea that 85% of 15-year-olds in Japan can't analyze texts, that's a problem. And if it's only 8% in other developed countries, that means 92% of 15-year-olds can't analyze texts. At 15, a lot of them are already starting to get part-time jobs. They're signing up for phone contracts. They need to be able to analyze what they're reading. They need to think through the implications. Another point about the problem with the internet not helping you think is that you can get the so-called right information right away. But according to Aguirre, real creative insights, ideas require us to spend time not knowing, wondering and being confused and making mistakes, because really, a lot of what we thought was true in the past, we've found out wasn't true at all. So I completely agree with Aguirre, because this process pushes our minds to come up with our own explanation and logic, which trains our brains to think for ourselves. And that's what we really want with education, is teaching people to think for themselves. Are you a robot? Or do you think for yourself? So, we come up with our own explanation and logic. Whether we're right or wrong is easy to check afterwards, thanks to the internet and our ability to criticize and think critically. So yes, keep the internet, but use it wisely. Hopefully you could summarize this talk for yourself. But basically, the internet can provide too much information, it can provide information too quickly, and it can leave us without a place or a time for wondering and contemplating the information. So, thank you. I mean, thank you.
We hope that with this video you will take some time to think about your topic. And again, to summarize the whole video, we talked about how Matthew and I usually prepare for classes, and more specifically this class, We use our experience, we discuss it, then we do a web search, we take some time out to process, to think about what we've just found, and also then integrate into what we already know. So not just use what we found, but use what we already know. And then Matthew explained why the internet isn't helping you think. Yes, you get a lot of information, but then how true the information is always something we can wonder. Then you get a lot of information quickly, but it's maybe too fast, so it doesn't give us time again to process the information. And the last point is you get the right, again the quotation marks, information, so the right information right away, so we don't have time to be creative and a little crazy too.
And by the way, Leonardo da Vinci didn't have the internet. He was a great thinker. Thomas Edison didn't have the internet. He was a great thinker. So it's important to think for yourself.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.